Do you think it is in the best interest of America to actually protect Miles Guo, who has proven himself being, a reliable source of intel, preventing Miles Guo from being persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party on the U.S. soil?
Yeah, so I'm not familiar enough with Miles Guo and his personal case right now. And what I tend to do as a former federal prosecutor is not speak out about it without having investigated it myself. But if what you're describing is accurate, and I don't have any reason to disbelieve what you're saying is true, then anyone, especially as a former federal prosecutor myself, who's ran intel sources and sources for national security, anyone who ingests that type of information and that information is not taken and acted upon by authorities should be investigated. And I don't mean the Miles Guos of the world, I mean the people he gave the material to who failed to act upon it. Too often, and whistleblowers, I'm glad you brought that up, is a heart of one of our foundation's matters. We at the Kash Foundation literally day in and day out look for whistleblowers, whether it's in the FBI, DOJ, DOD, IC, what have you, who don't have the financial means to bring forward instances of waste, fraud, and abuse by our government so that we can expose them. And so whether it's individuals that you know in depth or I know or don't know, the whole point is we're trying to encourage them to come forward because as we've just seen in the news now, some IRS whistleblowers come forward and jeopardize the entire Hunter Biden DOJ investigative scenario that's been going on for what, 4 years now? So whistleblowers perform an incredibly effective tool in our scenario. And the FBI and DOJ have been known, not just on occasion, unfortunately, too often, to overreach and abuse their authorities when seeking retribution against whistleblowers who are exposing their corruption. So I never will stand for that. And we will always look for ways in which we can help those individuals who are brave enough to come forward. And I'll do some more digging on the cases that you have talked to me about. Please, I just, unfortunately, am not too familiar with them myself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Patel. If you need anything, we're willing to provide everything you need. And this is actually promising because I don't know whether you're aware of that. There's a news yesterday. The House GOP, Jim Jordan, the subcommittee of weaponization, actually subpoenaed FBI HR official, executive director of the HR. So we're hoping we the people, can get down to the truth, to the bottom of it. So my next question, this is a question I wanted to see what you think. So if American justice system is hijacked or penetrated by the Chinese Communist Party, what does this mean for Americans, for your free speech, your free market?
It might be the single worst thing in the sort of non-warfare space that a foreign adversary can do to you, because you have now interjected yourselves into everyday American life. And what the CCP, unfortunately, is brilliant at is a long-term plan because they don't have a playbook of rules and they don't have a playbook of ethics. That's right. So whether they collect your data tomorrow to use it in 10 years, it's irrelevant to them as long as they get your data. And the access through which they have gained such information, be it through TikTok, which I think is a pretext for them to collect information, or otherwise by infiltrating American justice systems or the FBI systems, their main goal is to utilize this information at some point. And when they collect against not just government actors, everyday citizens from California to New York, from Florida to North Dakota, and everywhere in between, they are doing that with a purpose. And that purpose may not be known to us ever or right away, but when they're flying Chinese spy balloons over the United States of America and collecting on Defense Department information and secret ventures like that, then of course, any American with a modicum of credibility has to believe that they're doing it day in and day out like you've outlined. And that, when I was on the House Intelligence Committee as the National Security Advisor, one of the things we ventured to combat against was the very thing you're talking about, how the CCP gains backdoors into some of our most sensitive infrastructure operations, and why those doors are allowed to be opened in the first place, and why they take so long to be shut down. And more importantly, what do we need to do to harden our infrastructure so that it never happens again? Because we cannot permit the party of Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party to take over American information, because they will use that not just against Americans. They'll use that against us in the Ukraine. They'll use that against us in Taiwan and the South China Sea. Yes. And on the matters that we are championing, we Americans, to defeat the CCP's modern day enslavement of the 3 forms of genocide that are happening in mainland China. They have made a propaganda machine out of things like that because they say, oh, there's no such thing going on over there, when anyone who knows anything about China and the CCP knows that's exactly what's happening. And we're now only breaking through to telling the rest of the world that that's an actual occurrence and not a fiction. So it's critical to everyday thinking, and we must find a way to stop it.